Let's go!
All right, so it happened. Us as your video games. Last night, we watched Mortal Kombat 2021. Accurately described as just Mortal Kombat. A spiritual reboot, has nothing to do with MK95, MK Resurrection, right? MK Annihilation, not Resurrection. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That movie sucks. And it isn't very frequent that we get fighting game movies, much less live action fighting game movies. And I think I'm just gonna get right into the hook of this entire conversation. I like making films about fighting game characters, right? We have made in tandem some very loose Mortal Kombat-esque movies ourselves over the past 5-6 years. And we have taken characters from a large variety of NRS and Capcom and Marvel games and have essentially put them through a very similar fictional ringer where we try to do different interpretations of these characters while all still keeping their character and having fun and all this stuff. With that being said, right, of even engaging in making fighting game movies ourselves and making what we have had been official works and fan works and everything like that, I think the efforts they had with Mortal Kombat 2021, I don't think the movie is awful. I don't. I also don't think the movie is specifically great. And I think there are some things in this latest Mortal Kombat movie there is to like. I think there's actually some things to enjoy about it. But when it comes down to the actual meat and bones of what makes a good movie, oh man. Yeah, the Mortal Kombat 2021 has some extremely rough problems. Some very weird decisions, and why would they do this? So let's just get to the things that are great about it, because I'd prefer to talk about the stuff that I really enjoyed about the movie. And the number one element of the entire film is Sub-Zero. Even more so than Scorpion, right? People will be like, Sub-Zero versus Scorpion is the best part of the movie. And yes, arguably 100%. It is the most engaging, coolest, gimmicky fight. Like, the thing that I hate is the best, most engaging fights in the movie were in the trailers. I have to break it to you. All that really cool, crazy, gimmicky stuff that you saw in the trailers really doesn't happen throughout a lot of the fighting throughout the movie. And a lot of the fighting throughout the rest of the film comes across as a little flat. And the actual choreography and engagement of the characters is not the best. But Sub-Zero is dope. They turned Sub-Zero in this movie effectively into, this isn't really spoiler territory, Sub-Zero is a bad guy. They really make Bi-Han this genuinely evil character. And his brooding presence and his Jason-like presence throughout the film, I think, is actually dope. I think Sub-Zero, like, haunting and hunting down people is actually super sick. I'm like, this is great, man. Like, the settings that he has, him freezing over certain locations, and they fight in those locations, like, that stuff is really cool. I'm like, I mean, I'm really trying not to pun it up as hard as possible, but yes, the Sub-Zero parts are actually super cool. The weirdest part of the movie, genuinely the weirdest part of the movie, is the fact that it feels like it's like 3 different movies at times. It begins with an introduction that you guys have already seen online, most likely, and is really good. I'm like, damn, is this what this movie is gonna be like? This is really good. And then once that's done, the rest of the movie is not that. It is not. They go into a completely different direction, and I think the best thing I can use it to describe as, that I remember, where it's like, man, this movie was super engaging at the beginning, and then what the hell happened? Who remembers Godzilla 2014? Who remembers the Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston? How they have this setup with Bryan Cranston at the beginning of Godzilla, and he dies, and then it sets up his son to be the main character for the rest of the movie. It is exactly like that. Exactly like that. That beginning is really cool. It's great. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting, and this could have most likely carried the whole film, but it doesn't. They completely switch lanes to do this other thing, and it feels like a genuinely different movie. But, however, there is one thing that is literally the ripped out beating heart of this film. Like, you want to take the thing that it comes out of the chest of a character, and this is the beating heart of our whole movie. It's not Scorpion. It's not Sub-Zero. It's not Jax. It's not any of the characters that are the mainline headliners of this film. It's Kano. Kano is the beating heart of the movie. I'm not even kidding you. The whole existence of Cole is that he is supposed to be the audience. Cole is supposed to be the sympathetic main character where stuff happens to him and you sort of sympathize with Cole's situation, right? He's the fish out of water that is being exposed to all this stuff. Cole is the audience. That was their intention. What they did not intend is that Cole has almost no character and he makes no sense. And so much of his motivation is just like, he's so friggin' boring. And you end up sympathizing with Kano. And Kano has some genuine great lines and reactions to stuff. Every time Kano is on screen, which is a very good portion of the movie, he's fantastic. It's great. Dude, in terms of a character, is carrying the film. Sub-Zero is ultimately a plot device, right? Sub-Zero and Scorpion are like these plot devices that are throughout the film. And I don't mind that. It's just the overall story that's around these things. Kano like actively makes fun of what's going on because of how ridiculous it is. And you need that character. It genuinely should have been Cole, right? And that's where the movie kind of fails, is that Kano's such a bad guy. He's like the biggest bad guy ever, but he's the only one in the movie that feels even remotely human in any way. Everyone else is either like a crazy like ism or a trope or something or other, right? Or some mythical creature or some personalityless monk. And he's this guy that is just like, what the hell is going on, all you crazy wankers, you know, with a lot of more, with a lot more colorful dialogue. And yeah, that's largely where like the movie has elements that keep me in. Like I said, I like Venom. I've said this several times. Venom, the movie, I dig it. I think Venom's fun. Why do I like Venom? Because I feel the moments where Eddie and Venom get to butt heads with each other. Once Eddie and Venom kick in that film, it's fantastic. I'm like, this movie's great. The problem is everything that's not Eddie and Venom is so bad. It is awful. And I feel that is exactly the same for this Mortal Kombat movie. There are some parts that are genuinely really good. The Sub-Zero and Scorpion stuff is really good. And then you have some of the stuff with Kano is really good. There's a lot of cool referential things. There's pretty clear that the director really liked Mortal Kombat. It's very clear that the director of this film is a pretty big Mortal Kombat fan, right? And they were able to sprinkle all these little things throughout the film. However, to me, it seems painfully obvious that the screenwriting, if not the writing of the characters, doesn't give a shit. It doesn't even, it cares not at all, right? So the actual script itself, like what happens to our characters, why you need to sympathize with them, what's going on, it's so bad. Like, and it's complicated and it doesn't make any sense. And we're going from place to place and now this is happening, now that's happening. It's like, yo, what is going, why does this have to be so weirdly complicated? What the hell is going on? I'm not even going to get into the specifics of things like Reptile, right? I'm going to save that for after spoiler. All I'm saying is, I actually think the movie has a ton of structural issues. But if a film can end up having something that I enjoy, then at least there's something enjoyable about it. But like I said, I've seen a lot of movies where I just didn't find much of it super enjoyable. And it feels like I'm just exhausted and I don't ever want to watch this again. There are movies that are so bad that they can be good as well. And I don't think this is that. I think there's a lot of parts of this movie that are bad. And it's not bad, it's good. It's bad as in like, really? That just feels very weird. That feels very odd. So while I liked a couple of parts, as soon as you think about it for a second, it just falls apart. But what's important for a lot of people, the fighting and the gore. And there's genuinely some Mortal Kombat 11 levels of crazy gory stuff that happens in here. which is okay. But to me, it's like, it's a movie. So I just want to give a shit. That's my whole point with movies. I just want to care. And I kind of care about a lot of the characters in even the older Mortal Kombat. Because I think Johnny and Liu Kang and their dynamic with Sonya and all that stuff. Kitana's not that great in the old one. She's sort of just there. And Raiden, like and especially Shang Tsung in the 95 movie. These are great characters, right? They're super cheesy, but they embrace the cheese. And the big issue with a lot of this movie, unless Kano is on screen, is that this movie's not embracing the cheese. They are playing this shit straight. And that's what's weird about it. It's like tonally all over the place. Like the tone of the film is so bizarre. That's why it feels like it's different movies at different times. Anyway, to summarize what I feel about it, I give it, I definitely would recommend, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you 100% should watch it. 100%. If you've ever enjoyed Mortal Kombat in any way, just go watch it. I think it's worth watching. I actually would have preferred that I saw it in a theater sort of experience, but that's just not as much a possibility right now because not everyone's super cool with that. I enjoyed it. I didn't regret the time that was spent watching it. But so I feel it's like a 7 for Mortal Kombat fans, but for anyone else, anybody else, if you're just looking at this movie like I want to check it out, it's like a 5, maybe a 6. It's rough, dude. There are some very rough moments. Structurally and pacing, and even some of the fights are largely unsatisfying. It is weird, man. So I'm at the point where it's like, I don't think it's great. I think some parts of it are actually really cool. Weirdly enough, I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was actually going to be worse. Believe it or not, I thought it was going to be worse.